Chapter 29 of the Alps, the Danube, and the Near East. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Betty B. A National Labor Army. The first sight that greeted my eyes upon coming into Sofia was a gang of 25 husky, bronzed young men in light gray uniforms unloading cordwood from a train of boxcars. That was my first glimpse of the great labor army of Bulgaria, where almost everyone owns a bit of land and practically all work for their living. In this case, they were working for the state, for by the law of the country, tens of thousands of young men and women have to give from 6 to 12 months' labor to the government. But let me state the facts one needs to know in order to understand this remarkable situation. Bulgaria is situated in the midst of the Balkan Mountains, east of Yugoslavia, north of Greece, south of Romania, and west of Turkey. Sofia, where I am writing, is about 300 miles from Constantinople. The kingdom is 2/3 the size of England, and its population is about 5 millions. Agriculture is almost the only industry of the country. Bulgaria has but few large cities. Sofia is twice the size of Memphis. Philippopolis, in the central part, is about the size of Peoria, Illinois, and Varna, the Black Sea port of the country, is about as big as Mobile. There are perhaps a dozen other cities, but the bulk of the population live in small villages, from which they go out to work on the farms. All of the towns need public improvements, and the roads are, for the most part, in need of repair. The country has enough standard gauge railroads to reach from Boston to the Mississippi River, and an even greater length of narrow gauge tracks. All belong to the state. The fact that Bulgaria has had only a little more than a generation of independence from Turkey makes the land like a new state. The government is anxious to build good highways, to construct new railways, to erect municipal buildings, and to develop the country to the full. When the World War closed, Bulgaria found herself, to use the phrase of the streets, down on her uppers, and burdened with debt to pay reparations. The people had been fighting for years before the war began, and during that terrible struggle 300,000 of the best men were killed. The government needed labor to aid in rebuilding the country, and so passed laws enlisting as a working force all the young men at the age of 20 and all the young women at the age of 16. Every boy who has not been in the army must give from 8 to 12 months of his time to the state, and the girls serve 6 months. Everyone is also supposed to give from 8 to 10 days service each year, at such times as the authorities of the city, town, or district may select. Suppose our Congress should pass similar laws, and that they should go into force tomorrow. Men, women, and children out in the country and in every village, city, and town would be subject to 8 or 10 days' work as the state demanded. The little children might be given dust rags and washcloths and set to cleaning the schoolhouses, picking the stones from the schoolyard, or doing as much as they could, however little it may be, for the community. The older children might aid in whitewashing the school fences, painting the walls, washing the windows, or planting trees to beautify their towns, or they might carry water for the gangs of men and women doing heavier work. The able-bodied grown-ups might be called upon to excavate for public buildings, to make new roads, to help construct the railways, and to do anything under the sun that Uncle Sam might direct for the improvement of his country and people. 50,000 or more men come of age in Bulgaria every year, and there must be an equal number of young women who reach the age of 16. The young men are divided into groups of 20 or 25 each, and are handled just as though they belonged to an army. They live in barracks and have their clothing and food free. While motoring across country yesterday, I saw a gang of 200 of these labor soldiers returning from their job of grading for a new railroad. They were dressed in gray woolen clothes, woven and tailored in government factories operated with men thus conscripted. The boys were well set up and muscular and their faces were as brown as freshly tanned leather. All looked in perfect health, and they walked as if they were starting to work rather than returning from it. Their captain told me they were in fine condition, and that, although they had put in 8 hours that day, they would have a dance of 2 hours or more in the evening. The jobs for such men are of every description. They include road building, bridge building, the making of railways and terminals, employment in the factories, stone quarries and forests, and the draining and the diking of swamps and floodlands. I know of boys who are binding hooks, planting trees, and cleaning up the parks of their towns. The duties of the labor conscripts include also fishing and the care of animals, as well as artistic and intellectual activities. If a man can do sculpture or painting, he may be put to ornamenting the public buildings; or if he is well educated, he may be made a school teacher, or assigned to scientific work. The young architect helps in planning the government buildings. The young engineer is put on docks and harbors. The author writes books or pamphlets, and generally speaking, every man is placed where he can be of most service. Dr. Konstantin Stefanov, a graduate of Yale, a professor of philology in one of the universities here, and author of the best Bulgarian and English dictionary, and of books on economic subjects, tells me that his 10 days this year were spent in making excavations for an addition to one of the state educational institutions. He had 25 college boys under him. His gang used pick and shovel for 8 hours every day and enjoyed the work more than their studies. 50 other college boys aided in rebuilding the theater, which had been destroyed by a fire, and others helped lay a street railway. The girls and women serve chiefly in hospitals, libraries, churches, and schools, and also do sewing and other work in the government factories. I saw a dozen university girls in the Foreign Office yesterday. The daughter of a rich man, a college graduate who speaks 5 or 6 languages, is now translating some of the scientific reports of our geological survey. She has been on the job 4 months and likes it so well that she may continue after the end of the 6 months for which she was drafted. I know of a banker's daughter of 12 who spent part of her allotted time last month washing school windows and the rest in sewing for the state. In connection with their work in the industrial schools, the girls are taught housekeeping and sewing. Home industries, which are important here, are being cultivated, and the whole scheme is educational to a much greater extent than one would suppose. The only women exempted are the Mohammedans, who are excused from work outside their homes because of the seclusion demanded by their religion. I have talked with a number of the officials in charge of the labor service. They tell me it is popular and that they have but few slackers. There is a provision that one can gain exemptions upon the payment of from $120 to $400, according to his wealth. But of the tens of thousands who have been drafted, so far less than 500 have bought themselves off. Indeed, buying exemption is considered proof of lack of patriotism. The system is a great civic educator, which forces upon all the citizens the fact of their partnership in the government and interests them in the state and the community and in every phase of public welfare. It is bringing the people closer together, helping to level the differences between the various classes, and teaching all better methods of work as well as obedience to the law. There are no class distinctions. The rich and the poor, the ignorant and the educated, often labor side by side. In the wars of the future, this Bulgarian labor army will be drafted in just the same way as are those who carry the guns and go into the trenches. Had the United States had such system, we should not have been forced to pay our army of home workers from $10 to $20 a day for building encampments, making munitions, and doing other safe jobs, while the boys who faced the guns and endured all sorts of hardships received only $1 a day and their board. Stambuliski, the author of these labor laws and the man who pushed them through, was one of the most remarkable characters that have played their parts on the stage of Balkan politics during the last generation. He was an educated peasant who was active in politics before the war, at the close of which he became the popular leader of the farmers. He was a man of great ability and much common sense, but with his rise to power he lost his head, and many think he was plotting to usurp the throne, or to have himself elected dictator or president of a government, in which everything should be in the hands of the farmers. Stamboliski strove to excite feeling among his followers against the towns, boasting that he would level Sofia to the ground. He called it another Sodom or Gomorrah, and declared that its people were speculators and non-producers. He removed the old police force and government officials and put peasants in their places. After his assassination, something like $500,000, mostly in foreign currency, was found in his villa, and it is believed that he had planned to use this sum for a revolution which should make him the king of the Bulgars. End of chapter 29.